Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tim. This is another Real Ideal Gear review, and we're looking at another legendary classic, the Casio CA53, the calculator watch, the Marty McFly watch from Back to the Future, 1985. This watch is tied in with the F91. It's tied in with the Square. There's just this era of Casio watches that I've kind of gotten into, and most of them I'm not really wearing that much, but it's just one of those things that I look at this watch and I just think to myself how much I really disliked this calculator watch. At least this version of it, because a couple years later I ended up buying one. But we're going to go through this watch and kind of look at the ups and downs of this watch, the size, what you can do with this watch. So if you're curious about the module and how to set some of the things on here, it's pretty straightforward. I do think, though, that you're going to find that the 1980s version of this calculator watch really is clumsy. The updated versions really are much easier to use, the data bank versions I'm getting at. So, but if you're looking for just a straight calculator watch that has that Hollywood vintage nostalgic kind of feel to it, this is definitely it. We'll also be looking at the metal version, which is the CA506. We'll be doing both of these together. It's got a great clasp system on here that I really like. So sit back and enjoy. Testimony in this watch. I remember the calculator watch being out when I was a kid, and I was junior high, late elementary at that time. And I remember watching and looking at people that were wearing this watch thinking, why would you buy a calculator watch? Why would you want to do math ever, let alone have it attached to your wrist? I mean, I just thought it was just antithetical to coolness, So this is the ultimate nerd watch from when I was a kid growing up. And the funny thing is I ended up buying one when I was in junior high. So it wasn't a few years later that I was like, you know what? It is kind of cool to be able to do some of this stuff without having to put a paper and pencil together and calculate things out. So we're going to go through the functions of this watch. A couple of things I do like about this watch, and there's a couple of things I really don't like about it. I'll start off with that right now. Let's get those out of the way. Number one is the display is just weak. The contrast is not real high. The numbers are not real big. It's just the design. It's kind of like the F91W. It's a piece of crap when it comes down to function, but it's legendary in status. It has, it's a legend. It's one of the first. It has a cult following. I get it. I bought one only for that reason. I'll never wear the F91 ever again. I probably will wear this one though, because this one's a little easier to read, but it's at the same time, it's such a basic watch. It's kind of cool that way. And the calculator functions work. The second thing on here is there's no light. And that bothers me a lot. I don't understand why there's no light on here, but that's the way it is. The battery power or the length of battery life on here you can expect is about 5 years, which is actually really decent. So that's another positive thing about this watch. You got the calculator functions on here. You've got stopwatch functions on here. You have dual time. There's just some really cool alarm. You've got some cool functions on this really basic calculator watch. And you have to pay close attention to all of this letters, the subtext on here, the symbols on here. Like you just got to pay close attention to that stuff, because that's where some of these other functions are hidden. Your alarm on and off function is here. Your signal hour is here. What else do you have? The lap reset, the start stop is your 0, and your plus key over here. So you have your start over here, you have your and stop, and your reset is over here on the 0. So there's some other text in here that you need to pay attention to. And you kind of, let's see if we can pull this up a little closer. Yeah, it's having a hard time focusing in on it. But it's there, okay? Get to know the manual. It's a really simple manual, actually. I couldn't for the life of me figure out how to get the button tone on and off. It was off to start with. I'm so used to the tone being on that I wanted to know when the button was actually pushed. So what you do there is you go into the calculator mode and you hold down the adjust button, and that turns off your button mute or the button tone on and off. Okay. Calculator function is pretty straightforward. You're going to type in whatever you want, 7, 5, let's see here, decimal point, 4 and 8, 3. Oh, that's not 3, it's 2. And let's just do subtract 50. Oh, let's just do 5. Okay. So there you go. Pretty straightforward. Clear function is right up here. Press the clear, and it's clear. All right. Multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. You also have the ability to do squares. So if I did 3 and I did multiplication, and then hit enter, I would get 9. Okay. So if I want to do constants on here, let's say I want to have a particular number be the multiplier, I can enter in 7. I hit the multiplication key twice. Notice that there's a K up here. That means the 7 is now entered as a constant, and it's a multiplication in the multiplication format. So now all I have to do is hit the number I want to multiply 7 by. So if it's 6, okay, 3. My fingers are too big. 3. So I'm going to get 21. Okay. If I type in 6, all right, I'm going to get 42. If I type in 14, 98. See how, I mean, it's pretty slick actually for that reason. So that's kind of a cool feature. All right, moving on from the calculator. Now once we've played around the calculator, it goes right back to the time mode. So we're going to go through the calculator mode to the alarm mode. And again, this is where we have our hourly signal. We can turn this on and off. It's on right now. That little bell icon. You can see that goes on. All right. And then the alarm, which is that kind of radar signal that comes out, or that sound wave signal. And so there's your alarm, and there is your hourly signal. Okay. You can type in the alarm, pretty basic. Not a whole lot to write home about on that one. Let's go back to dual time. You can set up whatever dual time. You hit adjust, and you adjust everything across the board. You just type in the numbers, which I think is really cool. To me, that's one of the coolest things about a calculator watch is just the way that you can set up the time, set up the dual time. You're not going up and down, plus, minus. You just type in the numbers. I think that's fantastic. All right, same thing with the day and date and the year. Okay. Stopwatch, start, stop. Use the plus symbol to start. Stop. Okay. Reset. Okay. Start. Lap. Okay. Re-engage the stopwatch. Stop it and reset. So pretty straightforward on the stopwatch side. So overall, the functions of this watch really basic. No light. It does have a rating of water resistant. So with that in mind, you have something that actually can withstand splashing, hand washing. That's pretty much it. Submersion, absolutely not. You got too many buttons on here. It's not worth it actually. So now I have this other watch over here. This is the CA506, and this is the metallic version of this watch. So these are both the same module. So when it comes down to function, they're exactly the same. I think the module is the 3208. Yeah, the 3208. And both of these have the same module. So everything that I just showed you is the same on this one. You have a nice clasp. It is a fingerprint magnet, just so you know. You put a fingerprint on here, yeah, it's going to show up. But I do like this adjustment, and I like how this goes together. Now, I'm contrasting this with the mesh bracelets and how difficult those are to take on and off. And this is such a nice feature, such a nice way to do it. You have a hook that hooks onto this bar. Okay, so there's the bar. You hook it onto this bar, and then you clasp it down. All right, and I have found this to be a very, very effective clasp. To adjust, you come in with a screwdriver on this side. Okay, we're going to come in with a screwdriver on this side. We're going to pop this flap up away from the bracelet, and you can slide this bracelet up and down slide the clasp up and down the bracelet. Push it back down, lock it in place, and it has to be within these bracelet links. So that much you have to keep in mind. But once it's set, I mean, it is so easy to take on and off. I love this. Next to a typical dive watch clasp, I really like this clasp. This is one of my favorite clasps of all time. Super easy to adjust. So this is almost like a pin and buckle. You know, when you have the pin and buckle, you've got the holes and all that, and you can do that on the fly. You can almost do this on the fly if you had I always carry a Swiss Army knife with me, so I can adjust this thing at any time. So these are the two watches. I like them. They're definitely watches, I think, for the nostalgic, the legendary status of it, absolutely keepers. I'm going to hang on to the black one because I just like the strap on here. I think the strap is really well done. Pin and buckle, nothing fancy about it. I don't want to talk a whole lot about it, but you've got some ventilation in here near the top, which kind of gives it a little bit of a sportier look. But overall, I like the looks of it. It's pretty thin. Not a lot to go wrong with this watch. 5-year battery. It's an okay display. It's not the best. I can tolerate it. It's just, you really have to have the right angle to get the highest contrast on this watch. The buttons, there's only 2 buttons on the side. You have the mode button and the adjust button, and then everything else happens up here on this front panel. So pretty straightforward watch. If I was to give a score out of this, I'd just give it a 9 out of 10. It's just barely a keeper. All right, and it's just barely a keeper because of legendary status. As far as function goes, it's got more function on here that I think I can use, and some variability with it, some kind of cool stuff for me that works. It doesn't have a light, and I think that's terrible. So this watch I'm going to hang on to. This watch is going to go to my store, so if you go to realidealgear.com, this watch will be there. I'm going to sell this really cheap. I just want to move it out and get rid of this one. The metal clasp on it, like I said, I really do like the adjustability of this clasp. Everything else is the same thing. There's no light, same display. I don't know. They have a black version. There's a black plated version of this as well, and that is the 506, but it's the black plated version. I'm not exactly sure what the sub model numbers are for that one, but everything, it's basic. It's you get what you see right here. So check out the website, realidealgear.com, for any watches or knives. And I'm going to start putting some flashlights up there too, because I'm going through a review process with a bunch of flashlights, and those will end up going on there as well. But check out realidealgear.com. I've got some watches that are, I think, screaming deals. I've got some other limited edition watches that are just, they're kind of market value. I'll sit on them until someone wants to buy something at a fair price. But at the same time, they're limited edition. You're not going to see them anywhere else unless they're on eBay or something like that. And I can tell you right now, I've got I've got a Zelos Aurora Titanium there that's definitely lower cost than what you're going to see on eBay. And it's limited. They're not going to see it on Zelos anywhere because they're sold out. So I'm going to be moving that one, and I'm going to be putting a Helm Miyaku on there. And I think I've decided to put the black one on. I had a black and a blue dial. Wasn't sure which one. Put the black dial on there for sale. Keep the blue dial. And we're just going to move forward from there. So check out realidealgear.com for any of those kind of deals. And let me know if there's any issues with it. If you're out of the lower 48 states of the United States, let me know ahead of time. And we can make something happen, I think. So there you go. My name is Tim. It's been another Real Ideal Gear review. We'll catch you guys next time.